What is good, everybody? Don't know why my camera is not working. Apologize for that, as you're getting a glamorous view of my basement, water damage and all. Rob Stats Guerrera here with you. Wanted to react to the signing of Leonard Floyd. Of course, it's not official by the 49ers because nothing is official until Wednesday, but that is the news of the day. Leonard Floyd and the Niners agree on a 2-year deal. $20 million, up to $24 million. And so I apologize for that. I don't know why my camera is not working. I apologize as you get the terrible view of my water damage. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Look, I think it's a good deal for the 49ers. I'm very surprised that people are unhappy about it. I don't get it, frankly. I know it's not, Nick Bosa, right? It's not Brian Burns, who the Giants traded for. That's not really who you get in free agency most years, and it's not who the 49ers were going to be able to get this year. What they got was a good player at a good price. What is wrong with that? I don't understand the complaints. Honestly, I don't understand the hemming and hawing and I don't know. Leonard Floyd is one of 3 players in the NFL that has had at least 9 sacks for the past 4 years. Only 3 guys in the whole league have done it. Leonard Floyd is one of them. The other is Hassan Reddick and Myles Garrett are the other 2. So if you got a consistent player who, by the way, hasn't missed a game in 6 years, what are we complaining about here? That's what I don't understand. What is the problem? So I know that 49er fans are not happy about it, but unless you were hoping for Danielle Hunter or bust, and I get that because Danielle Hunter is a very good player, but I wouldn't complain too much about the Leonard Floyd signing. I think it's a solid move for the 49ers. I think that a lot of people are looking at what he isn't, right? Oh, he's not Danielle Hunter. He's not Brian Burns. And I get that. But you know what else Leonard Floyd is not? He's not Samson Ebukam. He's not Cleveland Farrell. He's not, take your pick of any of the other guys that they have tried to throw in. Chase Young, Randy Gregory. This is not a guy that's, had 4 or 5 sacks and they're hoping that Chris Cassera could turn him into a 10-sack player. This is a guy that's consistently around 10 sacks right now. That's a good thing for the 49ers. And they're not paying him $25 million a year. They're paying him $10 million a year. I think it's a good move. I really do. Just checking out names in the chat here. Diego says new season, new camera angle. No, I don't know why I didn't do it through StreamYard this time. And apparently I'm paying the price because I did switch the camera before we started, but apparently it didn't save. So I apologize for that. Bossra95 says he's consistent and that's what matters. I completely agree. He is. That is what matters. Like, I really don't get the complaints. The Niners also added Yetur Gross-Matos, a guy from the Panthers, former 2nd-round pick. That's a classic Chris Cassera pick. Get a guy drafted high in the 2nd round who has some pretty good raw skills. I saw a tweet from Kyle Posey of Niners Nation. I can't throw it on the screen here. Man, going live on just YouTube is a different experience for me. I'm going to go through StreamYard from now on. But I like this tweet from Kyle Posey of Niners Nation, who says, Gross-Matos is coming off a season best percentage-wise in sacks, quarterback hits, knockdowns, and pressures. He was a 2nd-round pick. He was 92nd percentile in arm length, 86th percentile in the broad jump, and 77th in the vertical jump. So he's got some raw ability there. And the benefit of supposedly having Chris Cassera is that you could take these, I don't want to say lesser guys because that's cruel, but, guys that were not as productive as maybe we thought they were going to be coming out of college, and then Chris Cassera can coach them up and get a little something out of them. And so hopefully that's what happens with Gross-Matos. And again, not saying they need 10 sacks from him. I'm saying they just need a guy that can contribute, right? A depth piece. That's what they need. Let's see. Cynthia says Floyd is dependable and productive and reasonably priced. Exactly. You've heard me say this before, but I'll say it again. I was taught this by an old radio pro. Eric Casilius was his name. And he always said to me, When you are going to make a big purchase or a big acquisition of any kind, ask yourself 3 questions. And if you can answer yes to 2 out of the 3 questions, then you will never regret the purchase. And no, King, this is not apple juice. It's actually white wine. So there you go. I'm drinking well, it's after dark. I'm having a little wine. Anyway, big purchase. Ask yourself 3 questions. Again, if you can answer yes to 2 of the 3, you'll never regret the purchase. 1, do you love it? 2, do you need it? 3, is it a good deal, right? If you love it and you need it, it doesn't matter if it's a good deal. If you love it and it's a good deal, it doesn't matter if you need it. And if you need it and it's a good deal, it's okay if you don't love it, right? So if you can answer yes to 2 of those 3, then you'll never regret the purchase. So let's look at Leonard Floyd. Do you love Leonard Floyd? No, I don't think I love Leonard Floyd. He's an older player. He's never been like elite. I don't love Leonard Floyd. Do I need Leonard Floyd? Absolutely, 100%. The Niners need defensive linemen and they need pass rushers. They need bodies and they need starters. So, yes, I need Leonard Floyd. Is it a good deal? Yes. 2 years, 20 million, 12 million guaranteed. It's probably going to end up being like a 1-year contract for the most part. I say yes. I say it's a good deal. So if you need it and it's a good deal, I'm never going to regret that purchase if I'm the 49ers. Never going to regret it. So that's how I look at it. I don't know if that helps any of you, but that's the way I look at it. Just looking through some of the chat names here. Let's see. Joe Boyd says the 49ers need to get superstar defensive linemen. Joe, I would love if they would get superstar defensive linemen, but here's the problem. You're not getting those for the most part in free agency. Danielle Hunter, I would say, is a superstar. They would have had to pay a ton of money for Danielle Hunter. I don't think they wanted to go that high or were able to go what he's going to eventually get. So you got to do the next best thing. And look, they're going to add defensive linemen in the draft too. They've got 11 picks. But for the most part, like superstar players don't usually hit free agency in the first place. So I agree. I would love it if they did, but you got to look at the constraints of the reality that they're in. So I understand that, but you're not going to, like, the 49ers were not going to solve all their problems today. And it's a weird day, right? Because we're all pumped up. We're all scrolling on the phone, refreshing Twitter constantly. What's going to happen? Who are they signing, right? We're seeing all these guys sign with other teams and people are making a big deal out of it. And I get that. I get the FOMO. But just take a step back, realize that the teams signing these players are not as good. Their rosters are still not as good, even with that signing, as the 49ers have. So keep that in mind also. And just realize that those teams are trying to build up to what the 49ers already have, which is one of the best teams in the league. I saw a good comment here where I'm trying to... Somebody said they're waiting for DJ Jones. I apologize. Oh, Andre Garibay, YouTube channel member. We appreciate that, Andre. I think they are waiting for DJ Jones to get cut. I wouldn't look at DJ Jones as like, all right, we got our sack production, but just like a solid player. Good. Yep. I would be all for DJ Jones if he wants to come back. I don't know the price on him. I don't think it's going to be crazy, but I'd love to see DJ Jones back in a 49ers uniform. 100%. You give me DJ Jones, you give me Leonard Floyd, Gross-Matos, you're starting to put together at least a somewhat, probably a deeper defensive line than the 49ers have had in recent years. Mike Scott says we need to sign more all-pros. I mean, on offense, there's not even really any room for them, at least at the skill spots. CSL in the casino says, I have to give it to Stats for his take on Juice. The Niners actually are considering cutting him. I still think it would be nuts to do, but Stats called it. Thank you. I appreciate that, CSL. Last we heard on that, the Niners are talking to Kyle Juszczyk about a reworked contract. I don't know that Juszczyk has a ton of leverage, frankly, because if he says, no, I don't want to do that, the Niners could say, great, go ahead. Find your market for a 30-plus-year-old fullback. It's not strong. Let's just say that. And it's certainly not, what is it, $8 million a year they're going to pay him. So I would expect if Juice is back with the 49ers, he's taking way less money unless they just cut him outright, which I don't think they want to do. I think they should, but I don't think they want to. So I think he'll be back, but probably on a much lower number. I know the angle. I apologize, everybody. For some reason, YouTube switched my camera. They wouldn't go to my webcam. It went to the camera on my laptop, which is next to I got the dual monitor set up. And apparently, for some reason, it defaulted to that. Even though I switched it before we started, I don't understand the issue. But nonetheless, I apologize for the angle, but I can't change it now. And I don't want to restart the stream. So here we are. Mike Scott says you're going to hurt your neck. Yeah, exactly. Nick Ellert says, the question I walk away with these signings, great for, I can't read that. Well, I don't know what that word is. Trafalgar season, but on 3rd and 7, it's Mahomes. Oh, for regular season. It's a typo, I see. Great for regular season, but on 3rd and 7, it's Mahomes. Leonard Floyd ain't the answer. I mean, look, in the Super Bowl, nobody got to Mahomes, right? The Chiefs offensive line, whether you want to say they were holding or not, nobody got to Mahomes. That's why I actually wondered if the Niners were going to prioritize secondary a little bit more, and we haven't seen that. Mike Silver tweeted that he thought they were going to go after safeties and corner, so we'll see if they actually end up doing that. But yeah, it's been frustrating in that moment. But also, like, Leonard Floyd is not a stiff, like, he's a good player. He's going to be surrounded by talent. He's got ability. He doesn't need to get, the flip side of what you're saying is Leonard Floyd doesn't need to get 10 sacks in the regular season if he gets that 1 sack in the playoffs, right? So it goes both ways. You could look at it. I don't know if you could say, I don't think anybody would say all the 49ers pass rush issues are gone now that Leonard Floyd is there. No, that's not the case at all. But, there's an expression, nobody ever got broke taking a profit. I think the 49ers took a profit. Solid player, consistent track record, healthy, hasn't missed a game in 6 years. That's a thing too. That's a real thing. So I think the 49ers took a profit on this one. I think if you asked them, if you gave them truth serum and said, is that really what you wanted to come out of this free agency period with? I think they would tell you no. But also, like, you got to have backup plans if you're the 49ers, right? You can't just say, well, we'll get Danielle Hunter and we'll trade for Brian Burns and we'll be good. No, like, you got to have, okay, this is plan A, this is plan B, this is plan C. And you got to have that ready to go because you saw how many contracts were agreed to today on the first day of legal tampering. Like, you got to have your ducks in a row for sure. ZM80 says, do you think that signing 2 ends over defensive tackles post Armstead means they expect more from Hargrave this year or are banking on DJ? Well, I think they're going to need more help on the interior for sure. Gross-Matos is a guy that has played multiple spots, so they'll probably move him around a little. So I think that probably both. I think they'll try to get DJ Jones if he's available. I know that was one guy Mike Silver specifically mentioned yesterday, I think. So I think they're going to look to add both, but they do need more out of Hargrave. They absolutely do. Right now, I would say that he was a disappointment in his first year. I think most Niners fans, and I think the Niners themselves would tell you, they were hoping for more of the Philadelphia Eagles, Javon Hargrave. And I don't think we got as much of that guy as we were hoping to get. And, he was banged up. He had I think it was a thumb ligament that he played through during the year. So maybe that was part of it also. But I hope that we get a little more out of him next year for sure. Andre Garibay, YouTube channel member, says Kyle needs to get secondary players. The Niners always ignore the corner spot. I mean, they didn't ignore it last year. They thought they addressed it with Isaiah Oliver. Turns out he just stunk. But, to their credit, they didn't ignore it. They just misevaluated the fit and the player. I think they do recognize the nickel and the importance of that. It's basically a starter now. The receivers in the division are not getting any easier. The Cardinals will probably end up with Marvin Harrison Jr., Puka Nacua is the Rams' new number 1. He looks like a player now. So the Seahawks, of course, have Lockett and DK Metcalf. So the receivers in the NFC West, so it's not any easier for the Niners now. So I don't think that they're ignoring it, but I think they need to get better there. You can't go into the season with Ambry Thomas and be no. We've seen enough of Ambry Thomas to know. Kim Adams says, anyone know what happened to Rob Shue? I don't know what Rob Shue is, but apologies. Joe Boyd says they should have traded for Burns. They could have given up a 2nd and a 5th. Yeah, but Joe, the thing you're forgetting is that Burns got the 2nd biggest edge contract of anybody in the history of the NFL. other than Nick Bosa. So you had to give up the second and the fifth, and you had to pay him. That's the trouble. That's why the draft compensation wasn't as high as maybe we thought, because you also have to pay the guy. That's what the 49ers couldn't do. They couldn't pay him that much money with the current cap situation. So that's part of the reason why that didn't happen. Nick Ellert says, if this is part of multiple moves, it's a good start. If it's the crowning jewel of the offseason, it's disappointing. That's fair, but also it's day one. It's day one. Let's breathe a little bit, like let's see what happens. We got a long way to go. They're not playing week 1 tomorrow. We got all the rest of free agency. There's a second wave of free agency. You know how that goes down. There's the draft post June 1, maybe exciting for the 49ers, depending on what they decide to do. So let's not act like the Niners are a finished product just yet, because I don't think that they are. Joe Boyd also says bring Armstead back. Here's the thing, they don't have to bring Armstead back anywhere yet. He has not been officially released. Remember, when the reports came out that they were going to move on from him, part of those reports was that they were trying to work on a reduced deal, but they were close, but they couldn't agree to it. I think what is happening with Armstead right now is they said, you have to take a pay cut. Armstead said no. And the Niners said, okay, if you think you can do better than what we're offering you, go try and find it. We'll wait to cut you. Go try and find it if you think you could do better. And if you can't, come back to us and let's talk. And maybe the Niners are comfortable keeping him at a reduced number. It sounds like they would have been. I think that's what's happening with Armstead. I think he and his agent are probably looking around right now, trying to get a new deal. And we'll see if he can find one that's better than what the 49ers were offering. And if he still wants to leave to another team, he may just want to say, you know what? Maybe the Niners offers a little less, but I love it here. My family loves it here. I've got roots here, all that stuff. So we'll see. But Armstead hasn't been officially cut yet. So don't totally close the book on that until it's official, right? Nothing's official until it's official. And the Armstead thing is not official. A lot of people saying they should have got Mike Onwenu from the Patriots. Well, he's staying with the Patriots for $3 million. I would like to see some addressment is not the word. I would like to see them address the offensive line in some way in free agency before we get to the draft. Doesn't have to be a starter, just a depth player, something. Just because I feel like that gives you a little more flexibility when the draft does come around, that you'd feel like you're not like boxed in and you have to take a certain position. So we'll see if they do that. Again, this is only, day one of free agency. So let's see what happens. There's still a lot of good players out there. I was trying to look and see like who would be the next offensive lineman that I would want. There's not a lot of names that jump out at you. I will admit that. I think at this point, you're probably not getting any starters in the free agent market. It'll probably be depth pieces, but that's okay too. I'm fine with that. Let's check the chat questions. Does anyone know about this Gross-Matos guy, Thomas Luttrell? I'm not going to pretend like I do. As I mentioned earlier, he had some pretty good measurables at the combine when he came out in 2020. He was a second round pick. So obviously at one point he was relatively highly thought of. We saw the Niners get good production out of Cleveland Farrell last year, a very high draft pick. So hopefully Chris Cassera can earn his money and get a little more out of Gross-Matos. And, he doesn't need to be, an all pro. If he could just be a solid starter, that will help the 49ers a lot. They want to have a deep offensive line. That was the point. They wanted to have waves of people. They always talked about that, right? I feel like they didn't quite have that last year. They tried to get it, and hopefully they can do a better job of it this year. Bring back Feliciano. Patrick Lucero says, bring back John Feliciano is better than Burford. I agree. I hope they do bring back Feliciano. I don't think he's going to be too expensive. And I think he would be a good depth piece on the offensive line. He came in and played solid and certainly better than Burford. Burford's not it to me. Like, Parcells had a rule with players. It was like your rookie year, come in, get your feet wet. Your second year, show me something. And if I don't see anything by your third year, you're gone. Well, I haven't seen anything from Spencer Burford. They had to split time with him his rookie year. They had to split time with him last year. Like, no, I don't need a part-time player. I need a starter at right guard, and he ain't it. So I don't know what they're going to do at guard. Some people think that they were going to sign a tackle and then move move McKivitz to guard. I don't know that McKivitz was especially good at guard, but I know some people were thinking that. I don't know. Yes, a lot of people are commenting on my shot. I know it's a weird angle, all right? YouTube would not let me use my actual camera for some reason, which is very annoying. It's making me use my laptop camera, which is next to my big monitor. I don't know why. It's very frustrating. I wish I could change it, but I can't, unfortunately. So you're just going to have to deal with it. What else about the 49ers do you want to know? I thought it was a tough day for the division. I thought the Rams improved themselves, signing a couple of guards. I know they also signed a tight end. I think they might have overpaid for the tight end. But, I think the Rams are getting better. I think they're going to be a pain in the neck for the 49ers. I had a tweet that got a lot of people mad. I said that the Niners are not going to be able to shove the Rams around anymore. I think that's true. I know a lot of people don't like hearing that. I don't like saying it, but I try to look at these things pretty objectively. I think the Rams are building something. They still have Stafford. They're trying to improve their offensive line. They have a real run game now with Kyron Williams. They have Puka Nacua. They have Cooper Kupp. If they can improve their defense a little bit, I think they're going to be a legitimate threat for the 49ers. I really do. They still have Aaron Donald. I think the Rams are going to be a problem. Doesn't mean the Niners can't beat them, but it's not going to be, like it was. It's just not. And we can't just expect everybody else in the division to stay the same, right? We can't just say, oh, we'll just name the list of guys the 49ers have and say, oh, it'll be no problem again. That's not how it works. So I'd like to see the Niners add a little bit more. Hopefully they do. I'm just taking a quick look at Twitter here to see if I missed anything else. I don't see the 49ers doing anything. I know the Eagles got Saquon Barkley. I don't really care about that. Jacoby Brissett is back on the Patriots, which I think is hilarious because if you listen to Julian Edelman, they kind of like Brissett more than they like Jimmy Garoppolo at the time. Nope. Nothing about the 49ers here. Let's see. Gross-Matos, Matt Barrow says Gross-Matos is someone who can help keep Bosa's and Floyd's snap counts in check. He's a bigger bodied player, 6'6", 265 with nearly 35-inch arms. He's been good against the run. He can line up inside. So, yeah, he's got versatility. He's got size. That's a good thing for the 49ers. I also think sometimes we tend to look at this and we're like, Gross-Matos, he can't start. And it's like, well, maybe they don't want him to start, like maybe they want him to be the depth piece. Don't treat every signing like they expect them to be like the crown jewel of the defense, so to speak. Seen a lot of happy Giants fans with the Brian Burns thing, and why not? I like to say one more thing real quick. I know some people might not like this, but I feel like I got to mention it. It's a bad day for the Mike Silver doesn't know what he's talking about, people. Pretty much everything Mike Silver has said so far in his thread that he tweeted out before free agency has started. Edge was a thing. They wanted to go with edge. They wanted to act with urgency at edge. And on day one, they signed 2 edge players in Leonard Floyd and Gross-Matos. So if you want to bag on Mike Silver, he doesn't know anything. Well, he was 2 for 2. What else did Mike Silver say? Armstead might not be on this team, could be cut. Guess what? Looks like Eric Armstead is going to be cut. Not official again, as I said, but it looks like he's going to be cut. So there's another thing in Mike Silver's cap. We tend to do this. A lot of fans tend to do this when people tweet stuff, insiders tweet stuff they don't like. They say, they don't know. And I keep telling you, they don't just tweet out opinions. They take things they're hearing and they couch them as their opinion so that they can say them without having to reveal a source. Doesn't mean we should just discount it. Even if we don't like the messenger or the message, we shouldn't do that. That would be a mistake. Lorenzo Gonzalez, thank you very much for the super chat. Do you think we'll be a passing-based offense this year? I think that they should be a passing-based offense this year. And I know that, people are going to say that's crazy. They led the league in rushing, and I get that. I want this team to be built around the quarterback. Teams in 2024 need to be built around the quarterback. The Chiefs are built around Patrick Mahomes. The Bills are built around Josh Allen. You have to build around your quarterback. You can't hide him. And I don't think the Niners need to hide Brock Purdy, and I don't think they should. I think it needs to be Brock's team next year, not Christian McCaffrey's team, not Deebo Samuel's team, not Trent Williams' team, not Bosa or Warner. It's got to be Brock. It has to be your quarterback. Every decision the 49ers make from now until they sign Brock Purdy to another deal, if they do, should be, how does this help Brock Purdy? That's what it has to be. I said the same thing in 2021 when they drafted Trey Lance. That was my big thing. What are you doing to help this guy? Everything has to be to help this guy. The Niners clearly did not see it that way, but I would say that for any quarterback. That's why I'm saying it for Brock the same way I said it for Trey. Every decision you make has to be to help that guy, to make that guy's life better or easier in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So I hope they do transition to a passing-based team next year. I really do. Joe Boyd says they need another veteran linebacker. I would agree. I was hoping that they would get Aziz, but unfortunately, he got $34 million to reunite with D'Amico Ryans in Houston. Shout out to you, Aziz. Congratulations. Good for you. I am sad that we won't see you back because I loved you when you were here, but really good player. Glad to see he got paid. And then Blake Cashman was another player that I had said last Friday that I was really hoping the Niners could steal. Was hoping maybe he'd be a little under the radar. Not under the radar. He's in Minnesota. With the Vikings. So that didn't come to fruition. But I do think the Niners are going to need at least one more linebacker. One, to cover for Dre Greenlaw while Dre is coming back from the Achilles. And two, like even when Greenlaw's back, I think you needed another linebacker. So, and again, like there's time for the 49ers to address that, but I hope that they do get that at some point. Nick Allard said Levante David. I did see that the Niners were interested in Levante David. I don't know what his market is. I haven't seen anything about him today on Twitter. So I don't know if someone saw that he signed somewhere, please let me know. But I don't think he did. I don't see it anywhere on the old Twitter. So, okay. So we'll see what they do at linebacker. And again, they still have 11 draft picks. So factor that into your situation also. Although, as Andre points out, we don't need all those picks. They should trade up and get a center and a guard. Rams protecting Stafford. We need to build around Brock if we want him to take the next step forward. You do need to improve the pass blocking, for sure. Brock Purdy did not get enough credit for how well he did behind that offensive line last year. I think Brock hid a lot of the flaws of the O-line. I really do. I think if we had a more stationary quarterback like a Cousins or a Garoppolo back there, we would have been screaming about the offensive line. Brock deserves a ton of credit for that, and I'd like to see them bolster that so that he can just drop back, read the defense, do what he does best, and get the ball where it needs to go. Do we have 11 or 10? No, I think they still have 11 draft picks. I know they have to give a third-round comp back to Washington, but I think they still have 11. Could be wrong about that, but I think they do. Marshall Mello says, Brock Purdy makes his offensive line better. That does not mean you don't need new offensive linemen. Totally agree. You can have a good offensive line and a quarterback that can escape and get out on the move. Like those two things are both allowed. And I hope the 49ers do. The good news is I feel like anybody you put at right guard is going to be better than Spencer Burford. So, hopefully they can improve there by default. Andre says Jimmy Garoppolo would have gotten his head snapped off playing with this offensive line. Nick Ellard says, I think they need a center. I don't think Brendel does well calling out blitzes, which I read Kyle has the center do. Yes, the center does do that on the offensive line. Brendel he's been, for what he is. I try not to get too mad at these guys. Like I try not to get mad at Colton McKivitz because I feel like Colton McKivitz is doing the best he can do. Like we can't expect any more of Colton McKivitz. He's Colton McKivitz. He's doing the best he can. We need to get mad at the 49ers for putting him in that position. And I kind of feel that way with Jake Brendel. The Niners invested in the Shanahan era in Weston Richburg. They invested in Alex Mack. And now they kind of just threw Jake Brendel in there. I'd like to see more of an investment, frankly. I would. Jake Sapien says, is it safe to say we're not getting Danielle Hunter? I would think so at this point. I don't think the Niners signed those two other defensive linemen. If there's a chance they can get Danielle Hunter, I'm sure they were investigating. Everything we've heard says that they were investigating. But I think at this point, it's unlikely unless Hunter wants to take less to come to the 49ers, which, hell, maybe he does. I don't know. But I don't think that's going to happen. Let me check a couple more comments here before we wrap it up. Carlos says they're going to draft at least 3 linemen. I'd be fine with that. Do it. Like I saw somebody had a mock draft. It was nothing but offensive linemen. And I think it was it PFF still gave him like a B. That tells you the state of the 49ers offensive line, right? So I think they're going to take some linemen. Last year they didn't take any, and we were like, oh my God, they didn't take any. Don't think that's going to be the case this year. I don't think so. Joe Boyd says, is Clelin Ferrell coming back? I don't know. I would love Clelin Ferrell to come back. Just another solid player for them. Obviously, he'd know the system now, having been here for a year. I know he's coming off a surgery, so that's a little scary. But depending on the number, I would like Clelin Ferrell back for sure. You know what? I should have mentioned this. I apologize. Jake Sapien says, maybe if Joey Bosa is released, would he take less to play with the Niners? He might, but I don't know that I want Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa is 28 years old, but he's been banged up a lot. Okay. And, for anybody banging on the Leonard Floyd signing, Joey Bosa has 9 sacks in his last 2 years. Leonard Floyd gets at least 9 sacks for the past 4 years. So I know Bosa's the bigger name at this point, but I think he's going to be expensive. He's been banged up. I don't know that he's going to necessarily get healthier. And depending on the cost, like if he wanted to play for super cheap, great. But if he signs for the number I think he's going to sign for, if he is eventually cut, I don't think the 49ers should pay it. That would change my little 3-question equation that I talked about, right? Because I wouldn't love it and it wouldn't be a good deal. So that's the kind of purchase you end up regretting. That is bad news. So I don't know if the Bosa thing is going to happen. Khalil Mack, I might feel differently on, although he's a little older. So that scares me. And I don't know that he would want to do like a 1-year thing. I mean, he is coming off a 17 sack season for the Chargers, which is pretty crazy. Khalil Mack is 33. He turned 33 last month. So that would be a scary thing. Obviously, that would be more of a Band-Aid, kind of a 1-year thing. And again, it all depends on cost with him. For me, with Khalil Mack, it would be more about cost would be my only worry. He's played a full season in, 4 of the last 5 years, including 2 straight. Whereas with Bosa, I'd be a little more scared, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Shades Barshad all points out Leonard Floyd has not missed a game in 6 years. That does make me feel good, not going to lie. J. Cruz 49, the camera angle's throwing me off. I know, I'm sorry. YouTube switched my camera and wouldn't let me switch it back. I apologize. George Berg says we need to win the Super Bowl this year. Hell yeah, I agree. I think this is probably literally the last ride with this crew. It's going to be do or die. I think if they don't win it next year, Kittle could be gone. Debo could be gone. I think that Trent Williams may retire. Like, I think there'll be massive, massive changes after this year. Probably good, bad, or otherwise, to be honest with you. We'll ultimately see. Somebody's saying I skipped their question. I apologize if I skipped your question. Everyone's worst nightmare. How can the 49ers improve the offensive line for this year? Well, 1, sign anybody to play right guard that's not Spencer Burford. Sign or draft. That would be number 1. And number 2, I really think you got to draft a tackle. Everyone keeps saying that this is the best draft for offensive linemen and tackles in forever. Great. Go get one. And if you need to move up before 31 to do it, great. I'm not attached to picks, especially picks in future years. Go get it. If there's a guy you want, go grab him. And to the Niners' credit, they have for the most part in the draft. They have not been afraid to move up. They got back into the first round to take Brandon Ayuk in 2020 after they had already drafted Javon Kinlaw. They are not obviously the Trey Lance deal. We know, how that turned out, but they weren't afraid to pull the trigger to give up the 3 first-round picks. They are cool with moving up if they see a guy. So if that's the case with the tackle, with the offensive line, go get him. Or even a corner. I would be okay with moving up for a corner too. I would be fine with that. Offensive line or corner, good. If somehow, some way, there's a defensive lineman that you really love, that would be a little harder to swallow, but they still do need defensive linemen. If you think you can get a guy that's an elite pass rusher, go get him. Trade first pick. Trade future first. I don't care about that. Do it. The Bengals released Joe Mixon and signed Zach Moss. Did they really release Joe Mixon? I didn't see that. A lot of running backs changing teams today. Saquon Barkley changing teams. I saw Tony Pollard is now on the Titans. Yeah. The Bengals plan to release Joe Mixon. Yeah, there it is. Zach Moss is signed with the Bengals now. See how that works. Interesting. I don't think the Niners have a need at running back. I certainly don't want to see them put any more resources there. But okay, that's interesting news. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for this quick show. Again, I apologize for the weird camera angle. I'll never stream just on YouTube again. I'll definitely be using StreamYard in the future. But thanks for sticking with me, everybody. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe to the channel if you just dropped in. We're live every single day. We're not going anywhere for the whole off season. So if you're a 49ers fan and you like our coverage, I promise you stick with us. We'll earn it. Jason and Steph will be live tomorrow, 11:15 a.m. Pacific time. I know they're all fired up to talk about what happened. That'll be Bully Ball again, 11:15 a.m. Pacific time. I'm on all the socials at Stats on Fire. If you want to give me a follow, I would appreciate it. Always like chatting with people on the socials. Thank you, everybody. Have a good Monday night, and we'll talk soon.